Welcome to our channel, where we bring you captivating stories that inspire and uplift. Today, we invite you to join us on a remarkable journey filled with love, heartache, and redemption. Meet Ayan and Sarah, two souls destined to find each other, despite the challenges life throws their way. As they navigate the complexities of their relationship, they learn powerful lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the enduring strength of love. This story isn't just about romance. It's about overcoming obstacles and believing in the beauty of second chances. Through laughter, tears, and unforgettable moments, you'll discover what it truly means to love and be loved. So sit back, relax, and immerse yourself in this emotional tale. Let it touch your heart and motivate you to embrace your own journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest stories. In the heart of Mumbai, the city that never sleeps, lived Ayan, a 28-year-old musician with a soul full of dreams and a heart full of scars. He wasn't your typical guy. He was reckless, wild, and had a temper that could explode like a volcano. Yet beneath that rough exterior, there was something broken, something that no one could understand. Ayan had always believed in one thing: music. It was the only thing that kept him alive, the only thing that understood him. His life was simple. He played guitar at local clubs, drank too much on weekends, and never let anyone close. Enough to hurt him, until one fateful night he met Sarah. Sarah was everything Ayan wasn't: calm, composed, with a smile that could light up the darkest room. She was a 25-year-old librarian who loved books more than people, and she had her own walls built around her heart. Life had been tough for her, too. Her father had passed away when she was young, and her mother had raised her alone. Sarah had learned early on that trusting people only led to pain. But when she saw Ayan playing on stage that night, something inside her shifted. Ayan noticed her too, sitting quietly at the back of the club, sipping her drink and staring at him as if she could see through all the noise and chaos of his life. It was as if their souls had met long before their bodies did. After his performance, Ayan walked up to her, wiping the sweat from his forehead, his guitar slung across his shoulder. "You look like you're lost," he said, his voice rough but laced with curiosity. Sarah smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. "Maybe I am," she replied, her voice calm but with a hint of mystery. From that moment, something started between them, something neither of them could explain. Ayan, who had never believed in love, found himself drawn to Sarah in ways he couldn't understand. Sarah, who had always kept her distance from people, felt herself falling for this wild, broken musician who seemed to hide his pain behind his music. Their relationship wasn't perfect. It was messy, chaotic, full of highs and lows like the ocean during a storm. Ayan, with his mood swings and fiery temper, would sometimes yell at Sarah for no reason, then apologize with a bouquet of wildflowers the next day. Sarah, with her calmness and patience, would listen to him, soothe him, and try to understand his pain, even when he pushed her away. One night, they had their first fight. Ayan had come home late, drunk and angry after a bad performance. Sarah had been waiting for him for hours, worried, sick. "Do you even care?" she shouted, tears brimming in her eyes as she watched him stumble through the door. Ayan slammed his guitar on the couch, his eyes blazing. I never asked you to wait for me, he yelled back, his voice harsh but his heart aching. Sarah stood frozen, her heart breaking a little with each word. I love you, she whispered, her voice trembling. For a moment, Ayan didn't say anything. His hands clenched into fists as he tried to push back the emotions flooding his chest. But then in one swift motion, he grabbed Sarah by the shoulders and kissed her. Hard, desperate, as if he was afraid she'd disappear if he didn't hold on to her. It was their first kiss, and it was filled with all the anger, love, and confusion they both felt. The room spun around them, and for that moment everything else faded away. Ayan's lips were soft, but intense, and Sarah's fingers gripped his shirt as she kissed him back, her tears mixing with the heat between them. As days turned into months, Ayan and Sarah's relationship became a beautiful chaos, filled with stolen kisses in the rain, playful banter, and deep conversations that lasted all night. They would argue, make up, argue again, and somehow find themselves back in each other's arms every time. Ayan had never felt this kind of connection with anyone before. Sarah became his muse, the reason behind every song he wrote, the light in his dark world. But with love came fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of not being enough for her. One evening, they were sitting on the rooftop of Ayan's apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below them. Ayan had his guitar in his hands, strumming softly, while Sarah leaned her head on his shoulder. You're the most important thing in my life, Sarah, Ayan said suddenly, his voice low and serious. But I'm scared. What if I ruin this? What if I hurt you? Sarah looked up at him, her eyes soft and filled with love. Ayan, you're not perfect. Neither am I. But we're perfect together, she whispered, placing a soft kiss on his cheek. For the first time in his life, Ayan felt peace, real peace. He smiled a rare, genuine smile and kissed her forehead. They spent the rest of the night wrapped in each other's arms, the world below them forgotten. But Ayan had a past, a dark one, filled with mistakes and regrets that he hadn't told Sarah about. He had hurt people before, people he cared about. And though he loved Sarah more than anything, he was terrified that one day his past would catch up to him and destroy everything. One evening, after another successful performance, Ayan got a message on his phone. It was from someone he hadn't heard from in years, Griya, his ex-girlfriend, the woman who had once been the center of his world but had left him shattered and broken. The message was simple. Asterisk, we need to talk. I'm in town. Asterisk, In's heart raced. He didn't know what Griya wanted, but he knew it couldn't be good. He hadn't told Sarah much about Griya, and now he wasn't sure if he should. He didn't want to hurt Sarah, didn't want to bring up old wounds, but secrets have a way of coming out, and this one was no exception. Ayan stared at his phone, his heart thudding in his chest. Griya, the name sent shivers down his spine. His mind raced back to the days when he had loved her, trusted her, only to be betrayed. In the most painful way, she had left without a word, leaving his heart shattered into pieces he thought would never heal. And now, just when he was finally starting to feel whole with Sarah, Griya had returned. He knew he couldn't tell Sarah not yet. How could he explain the hurricane of emotions he was feeling? Sarah was the best thing that had ever happened to him, and the last thing he wanted was to hurt her. But secrets have a way of creeping into the light. and this one was already casting a shadow over his heart. The next morning, Sarah noticed Ayan was distant, his mind clearly elsewhere. She tried to laugh it off at first, but as days passed, she couldn't ignore the growing tension between them. One evening, as they sat on the same rooftop where they had once shared their deepest feelings, Sarah decided she couldn't stay silent anymore. "Ayan, what's going on?" she asked softly, her voice filled with concern. "You've been different lately, like you're here, but your mind is somewhere else. Did I do something wrong?" Ayan looked into her eyes, and his heart twisted with guilt. He couldn't lie to her anymore, but he wasn't ready to tell her everything. "It's not you, Sarah," he began, his voice cracking slightly. "It's my past. Someone from my past came back into my life, and I don't know how to deal with it." Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "Who?" she whispered, fearing the answer. Ayan hesitated, then finally said, "Skria." The name hit Sarah like a punch to the gut. She had heard about Rhea, but only in passing. Ayan had never told her much, only that Rhea had broken his heart. Now all the pieces of the puzzle started to fit together. "I didn't mean for this to happen," Ayan continued, his voice full of regret. "She sent me a message. She wants to meet, but I don't want to hurt you. I don't even know why she's back." Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she fought to stay calm. "Do you still love her?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ayan's eyes widened. "No, Sarah, I don't. Love you. You're my everything," he said, reaching out to hold her hand. "But Rhea? She's a part of my past that I never really dealt with. I don't want her to come between us." Sarah pulled her hand away, her heart aching. "But she already has Ayan. How am I supposed to trust you when she's back in your life? How am I supposed to know you won't go back to her?" Despite Ayan's reassurances, the tension between him and Sarah only grew. A few days later, Ayan made a decision that would change everything. He agreed to meet Rhea, hoping to put his past behind him once and for all. He didn't tell Sarah, fearing it would only make things worse. They met at a small cafe, the same place where they had shared their first date years ago. Seeing Rhea again after all this time felt like reopening an old wound. She hadn't changed much. Still beautiful, still confident, but there was something in her eyes that Ayan hadn't seen before. "Regret." "Ayan," Rhea said, her voice soft and full of emotion. "I know I hurt you. I made the biggest mistake of my life by leaving you, and I've regretted it every day since. I'm not here to make excuses, but I needed to tell you that I'm sorry. I still love you." Ken's heart stopped. Those words, the same ones he had once dreamed of hearing from her, now felt hollow. He had moved on, or at least he thought he had. "I'm with someone now," Ayan said, his voice firm. "Her name is Sarah, and I love her. Whatever we had, Rhea, it's over." But Rhea didn't back down. She reached across the table and touched his hand. "Ayan, you can't just erase what we had. We were everything to each other once. Don't you want to give us another chance?" Before Ayan could respond, a voice interrupted them. "Sarah." He turned around to see Sarah standing there, her face pale, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. She had followed him, unable to shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Sarah's heart was breaking. Seeing Ayan with Rhea the way they were sitting together, their hands so close, it was too much. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she forced herself to stay strong. "You lied to me," she said, her voice trembling. "You said you wouldn't meet her, but here you are. sitting with her like nothing's changed. Ayan stood up, panic rising in his chest. Sarah, it's not what it looks like. You were just what? Sarah interrupted, her voice sharp. You were just going to let her back into your life, weren't you? You were going to leave me for her? No, Ayan shouted, his voice desperate. Sarah, please, I love you. I only met her to end things for good. She doesn't mean anything to me anymore. But Sarah couldn't hear him. The pain was too overwhelming, the betrayal too deep. I can't do this, Ayan, she said, her voice breaking. I can't be with someone who keeps secrets from me. I thought we had something real, but maybe I was wrong. Before Ayan could stop her, Sarah turned and ran out of the cafe, her heart shattered. In the days that followed, Ayan was consumed with guilt. He had lost the one person who meant everything to him, all because he couldn't let go of his past. His music suffered, his life fell apart, and he realized that without Sarah, nothing else mattered. Meanwhile, Sarah tried to move on, but every day felt like a battle. She missed Ayan, the way he made her laugh, the way he kissed her like the world would end if he didn't. But the pain of his betrayal was too fresh, too raw. She didn't know if she could ever trust him again. Ayan knew he had to fight for her, to prove that she was the only one he wanted. He started writing a song that captured all the pain, love, and regret he felt. It was a song for Sarah, the only way he knew how to express what was in his heart. One night, without telling her, Ayan showed up outside Sarah's apartment. He stood in the pouring rain, his guitar slung across his shoulder, and began to play the song he had written for her. Ayan stood drenched in the rain, his guitar strings vibrating with a raw emotion he poured into the song. His voice cracked with the intensity of his feelings, every word a plea for forgiveness. Sarah, I know I hurt you. I lost the best thing I had, but my heart still beats for you. Without you, I'm going mad. Sarah stood by her window, her hands trembling as she heard the familiar voice. She couldn't believe it. Ayan, standing outside in the rain, singing to her. Her heart tightened painfully, torn between the love she still felt and the hurt she couldn't shake. In the sight of him drenched, eyes closed, pouring his soul into the music, made tears well up in her eyes. She wanted to run down to him, to forgive him, to let him hold her again. But part of her was still scared, still unsure. Could she trust him? Could they rebuild what was broken? Suddenly, Ria's words echoed in her mind. She had overheard their conversation in the cafe. We were everything to each other once. The doubt crept back in. What if Ayan still had feelings for Ria? What if this was just a moment of weakness and he'd run back to her? Sarah stepped out into the rain, her heart racing. She stood a few feet away from Ayan, watching him play, but he didn't notice her at first. His eyes were closed, lost in the music, singing with everything he had. Ayan, she called, her voice breaking through the storm. He stopped playing, his eyes snapping open, and for a second there was nothing but silence between them, except for the sound of the rain hitting the ground. Sarah, he whispered, his voice hoarse from the emotion and cold. Why are you here? She asked, her voice trembling. Why now? After everything that's happened, I'm here because I love you, he said, stepping toward her. You made a mistake, Sarah. I should have told you about Ria from the beginning, but I was scared. I didn't want to lose you. And now? Now I know I can't live without you." Sarah's tears mixed with the rain. "But how do I know you won't hurt me again, Ion? How do I know you've really moved on from Rhea?" Ion took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew this was the moment. He had to bare his soul to her, or he would lose her forever. "I'm not the same person I was when I was with Rhea," he said, his voice shaking. "When she left, it broke me, and I thought I'd never love again. But then you came into my life, and everything changed. You made me believe in love again, Sarah. You made me whole. Rhea is my past, but you're my future." Sarah stood frozen, her heart wanting to believe him, but the fear still lingered. Ion stepped closer, taking her hand gently in his. "I swear to you, Sarah, I will never hurt you again. I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that you're the only one I want." Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. And there it was. The honesty, the vulnerability, the love she had always seen in him. Just as she was about to speak, a figure appeared from the shadows. Rhea. She had followed Ion, unable to let go of her own feelings. Her eyes were wild with desperation, and as she approached, Sarah's heart skipped a beat. "You think you can just erase me from your life?" Rhea shouted, her voice trembling with anger. "We were everything to each other, Ion. You can't just walk away from me like this." Ion turned to face Rhea, his face pale but firm. "Rhea, you need to understand. What we had is over. I've moved on. I love Sarah, and nothing you say is going to change that." But Rhea wasn't backing down. Her eyes filled with fury. She stepped closer. "You think she's better than me? After everything we went through, you think you can just forget me?" Sarah felt her heart pound in her chest. This was turning into a nightmare she hadn't expected. She could see the pain in Rhea's eyes, but she also saw the madness. Rhea wasn't just hurt, she was obsessed. Before Ion could say anything, Rhea did something unexpected. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. It was from the night Ion had met her at the cafe. "You can't just erase what we had. We were everything to each other once. Don't you want to give us another chance?" The recording sent a shockwave through Sarah. She heard Ion's hesitation in that moment, the silence before he had responded. It wasn't a clear-cut rejection, not in the way she had imagined. Tears filled Sarah's eyes again. "So you did think about it," she whispered. "Even for a second you considered going back to her." Ion's face went pale. "No, Sarah, that's not what happened. I didn't." But Rhea's smirk grew wider. He hesitated, didn't he? Because deep down, he knows we're meant to be. Ian looked at Sarah, panic rising in his chest. He had to fix this. But how? How could he prove to Sarah that his love for her was real? That Rhea's manipulation couldn't break them? "I didn't hesitate because I wanted her, Sarah," Ion said, his voice disparate. "I hesitated because I was shocked. I didn't expect her to say that. I was caught off guard, that's all. I swear I only love you." Sarah's mind was spinning. The rain was pouring harder now, soaking through her clothes, but she didn't care. All she could hear was that brief moment of hesitation in the recording, and it was tearing her apart. "You have to trust me," Ion pleaded, stepping closer, but she backed away. "I don't know if I can," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't know what to believe anymore." Rhea stood there, smiling triumphantly, thinking she had won. But Ayan wasn't going to let her destroy the love he had fought so hard to build. In a last, desperate move, Ayan dropped to his knees in front of Sarah. "I'm begging you, Sarah, don't let her win. Don't let her take us away from each other. I love you more than anything in this world. Please don't walk away from me." The sight of Ayan on his knees, broken and pleading, tore at Sarah's heart. She had never seen him like this before. So vulnerable, so raw. And in that moment, she realized something. Love wasn't perfect. It wasn't about never making mistakes. It was about fighting for each other, even when it hurt, even when it seemed impossible. Sarah knelt down beside him, her heart pounding. She took his face in her hands and whispered, "Anne, I'm scared, but I love you too. And I don't want to lose you." Ayan's eyes filled with tears, and he pulled her into his arms, holding her as if he'd never let go again. Rhea, watching from a distance, felt her world crumble around her. She had lost. The man she thought would always be hers had chosen someone else. And as she walked away into the rain, a bitter realization sank in. She was truly alone. The rain slowed, but the emotional storm between Ayan and Sarah was still strong. They sat in the silence, holding each other, their hearts beating in sync as if they were one. But deep down, Sarah knew they still had to face the reality of what had happened. And what could happen? Ayan broke the silence, his voice soft but firm. "Sarah, I know it won't be easy, but I'll spend every day proving to you that I'm here, that I'm yours, and that nothing can come between us. Not Rhea, not anyone." Sarah pulled back slightly. Looking into his eyes, she could see the sincerity in them, the raw truth of his words. But trust didn't come easily. "I believe you love me, Ayan, but I don't want to live in doubt. We need to rebuild this together, and we need to be honest with each other no matter what." Ayan nodded. "I'll never lie to you again, Sarah. I promise." They stood up, slowly. The rain now just a light drizzle as they made their way back inside. The warmth of the house enveloped them, a sharp contrast to the cold storm outside. They sat by the fire, still drenched but no longer caring. The crackling flames seemed to ease some of the tension, and for a moment everything felt calm. Days passed, and Ayan and Sarah worked together to heal their relationship. There were still moments of doubt, moments when Sarah would hear Rhea's words echo in her mind. But Ayan never faltered. He was patient, gentle, and always open, sharing every detail of his life with her, so she never had to wonder where his heart was. One evening, they decided to take a trip to the mountains, a quiet, serene place where they could be alone, away from the noise of the city and the shadows of the past. As they sat on a cliff overlooking a valley bathed in the golden light of the setting sun, Ayan pulled out his guitar again. But this time, instead of playing a song full of regret and apology, he played something new. It was a melody he had written for Sarah, a song that told the story of their love, not the pain or the mistakes, but the beauty of their connection and the strength they had found in each other. Sarah listened, her eyes closed, a smile slowly spreading across her face. This was the Ayan she had fallen in love with, the artist, the dreamer, the man who wasn't afraid to wear his heart on his sleeve. And in that moment, she knew that despite everything, they had made it through the worst. As the final notes faded into the wind, Ayan turned to Sarah, his eyes filled with love. "I wrote this for you because you're my muse, Sarah. You're the reason I want to be better every day. And I want to spend the rest of my life writing songs for you if you'll let me." Sarah smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. But these weren't tears of pain or doubt. These were tears of joy. She leaned in, pressing her lips softly against his, and in that kiss, she felt the weight of all their struggles melt away. When they pulled apart, Sarah whispered, "I love you, Ayan. Always have. And I always will." Back in the city, life began to return to normal. But as they settled into their routine, a final challenge awaited them. Sarah hadn't disappeared. She had been quietly watching from the sidelines, still clinging to the hope that Ayan would come back to her. One evening, she showed up at their doorstep, her eyes wild and filled with desperation. "Ayan," she pleaded, "you can't really be happy with her. We were perfect together. You know that." Sarah stood by Ayan's side, her heart pounding. She didn't know what Rhea would do or what she would say, but she wasn't going to let her tear them apart again. Ayan looked at Rhea, his face calm but firm. "Rhea, I told you before. We're done. I'm happy with Sarah, and nothing you say or do is going to change that." Rhea's face twisted with anger. "You think she'll make you happy? She'll only hurt you like I did. No one can love you like I do." But Ayan didn't flinch. He reached for Sarah's hand, squeezing it tightly. "You're wrong, Rhea. Sarah loves me in a way you never could. She trusts me. She believes in me. And that's something you never did." Rhea's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, Sarah saw the sadness behind her anger. Rhea wasn't just obsessed, she was heartbroken. But that didn't change the fact that Ayan had chosen Sarah, and no amount of pleading would bring him back. With a final, defeated sigh, Rhea turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. And as she left, Sarah felt a weight lift from her chest. This was it, the end of the battle, the final closure they needed. Months passed, and Sarah and Ayan's love grew stronger with each day. They learned to communicate better, to trust each other fully, and to never let doubt creep into their relationship again. One morning, as they sat together on the balcony of their small apartment, sipping coffee and watching the sunrise, Ayan turned to Sarah with a mischievous smile. "I've been thinking," he said, "about the next chapter in our story." Sarah raised an eyebrow, curious. "Oh, and what's that?" Ayan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Sarah. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Sarah's eyes, but this time there was no hesitation, no doubt. She smiled, her heart bursting with happiness. "Guess in. 1,000 times yes." And as they kissed under the soft morning light, they knew that this was just the beginning of their new life together. Their story had been full of ups and downs, but in the end, love had won, and it always would. The end.